Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burkhart. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is Wednesday, May 18th, 2022, and I am so glad to be here with you today. I had some amazing news yesterday, and I love that I get to share it with all of you. I am not really good about checking my email very often, so sometimes whenever I do get around to doing it, I find these surprises that I've missed out on. Well, yesterday I was going through my email and I found a lovely little notice from She Inspires Awards. If you're not familiar with this, I will put a link to their webpage in the description of this podcast. But you can also just go to inspirewomenowawards.org.uk. It is a wonderful program where they strive to recognize women and their contributions in so many areas of the world. And they had started out being a local award in the UK, and they have since gone global, which is just amazing that they're trying to spread this recognition around the world. Some of the categories that they honor are Women in Business, Women in Fashion, Hair and Beauty, Women in Digital Award, Volunteer of the Year, Women in STEM, the Science and Technology Engineering Mathematics Award. There are awards for women in health and medical services, the Young Achiever Award for anyone who is 21 years or less, Rising Star Award, Women in Leadership Award, Women in Event, Networking and Hospitality, and then there is the award that I've been nominated for this year, Her Abilities Award. Now, from their website, the description for the Her Abilities Award is this. This award is reserved for a special woman who, despite her disabilities, inspires by her positive contribution to the community, workplace, family, or just her own life. The winner of this award will have transcended her physical or mental or learning disabilities to turn her life around. Embracing her abilities, she may also have achieved new success, eliminated limiting beliefs, and found a fulfilling way to live a fulfilling life. Now, I'm not so sure how well I meet this criteria, but I do know that there are a lot of things I've had to overcome to have the life that I have today. And if anything that I've done could inspire anyone else to fight for their own life and to achieve the things they really want to achieve, no matter what anybody tells them they're capable of doing, I want to be that person. I want to be somebody who brings that out in others. So even if I don't live up to this description right now, I plan to. I really hope that I do become this person and inspire others to do the same. Now, I had actually been nominated for this in the year 2020, right before COVID hit the world. And it kind of threw a monkey wrench into all of the proceedings, but they still were able to hold the awards. They just had to move it virtually. That year I was a finalist. I did not win. I am really sorry that I do not remember the name of the woman who won the category. But if you had read all of the stories of the women I was in the category with, they were amazing. I mean, these women were phenomenal and had accomplished so much. And it's one of those moments where you understand when people go up and say, it's just an honor to be nominated with these people that I'm up here with. That was definitely true for me that year. It was incredible that I was put in the same league with those women. It was such an honor. So when I opened this email today and found that someone had nominated me again for this award, I don't even really know how to describe it. Because for somebody like me who has had, I went through the 7 surgeries in 6 months, and 6 of them were brain surgeries, and I lost so much of my language skills and took years and years and years to recover from all of this. And I still struggle with my language skills every day. I mean, listening to me right now, you probably wouldn't recognize that I actually have trouble remembering words and forming sentences, but that's also the magic of editing. So that's one thing that's really great about not doing live broadcasts for me, because I do have a lot of issues where I forget a word. My brain will freeze and I just stop. And if I was doing a live broadcast, you would start to notice there's a lot of dead airspace every once in a while because my brain just shuts down. And these are things that I deal with every day. And having somebody say, "We see what you deal with, and we want to honor how hard you struggle to do the things you do in spite of what you're fighting against." It's just phenomenal. The feeling of being seen like that, it's priceless. Now, I know the first time that I was nominated for this award, I was nominated by my mother. I know that for a fact. But I have no idea who nominated me this time around. And I would just like to say, if you happen to listen to this podcast or you see one of my posts or blogs, I just want to say thank you. Because it does not matter to me going forward if I make it to be a finalist or if I win the award. Those things are all wonderful. But just having somebody notice me this way is amazing. And I'm going to be forever grateful to you for doing this. Thank you so much. Now, I also want to talk about the audio book that I've been working on for Into the West, the Orphan Train. I don't know how many of you listening to the podcast also read the blogs, but whenever I started piecing together all the bits from the end of my podcast where I had been reading from the first book, Into the West, the Orphan Train, I found that I had skipped a lot of the book. I managed to somehow not read any of chapter 2, and I missed about, I think, 6 or 7 pages of chapter 3. I'm really shocked that nobody called me out on this. And it also kind of goes back to me talking earlier about still having issues where, my brain just kind of stops once in a while. That's a very good example of how that kind of thing happens with me. So I've been doing a lot of extra recording, and I've got the missing pages from chapter 3 all recorded and inserted in the recording. And I managed to sit down and record all of chapter 2 today. And later tonight, after I finish recording this podcast, I'm going to go in and finish the editing. So later this week, the beta version of my first audiobook for Into the West, the Orphan Train will be available for free streaming on the members only page of my website, www.burkhartbooks.com. And it is going to be, I'll have a link in the description so that you can find that, no problem. But it will be available to listen to for free. And the beta version is going to always stay free. So anybody who has access to the members only page on my website, it is free to join. You can quit at any time. You can sign up for the members only page, go in, listen to the audiobook, and then get rid of your membership. That's perfectly fine. Go right ahead and do that. If you decide to do that, though, the only thing I would like to ask is give me feedback. I want some constructive criticism about what I need to do to improve this audiobook for when I do the final version of one. And I want to do all of my books in audiobooks. So please give me feedback. If you just want to join, listen to the audiobook, quit, that's fine. But send me an email or anything. Go into the chat box that's on most of the main pages of the website where you can chat with the authors and tell me what you thought. You can just leave a message and I'll get it later. You don't have to talk to me directly. But let me know, did I speak too fast? Because I know I have a tendency to do that. What did you think of the accents? If you are Irish, how did I do on the Irish accent? Because I want it to be good and authentic. I don't want it to be insulting or stereotypical. I want it to be a good accent. What did you think of the timing of the way that I did everything? Did you like the music that I had on there? anything and everything that you think that you can give me feedback on that would help me improve the final product, I want to hear it from you. And be tough. I've got a thick skin. Don't worry about it. If you think the whole thing is horrible and I should just start again, tell me that. I want to know. I'm hoping it'll actually be available by tomorrow. I'm going to promise by Friday, just to make sure, because I'm really bad about procrastinating and forgetting what I'm doing. So, we'll say it's going to be promised to be up by Friday, but it might be there tomorrow. So if you want to go in and check, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, to close out today's podcast, I decided to do something that I hadn't really planned to do, but I feel like I need to just prove that I have actually been working on Into the West Family Ties, the final book in this Into the West Saga serial. So I'm going to share a little bit from the first chapter of this book. And I promise I'm working to get this one finished as soon as possible. My plan was that as soon as I finished this beta version of the audiobook, since I had been working on the podcast and doing all this stuff, that I would take a break from everything so that I could just focus on finishing this book and getting it done. And that's what I'm going to do. So now, to prove that I have actually written some of this, here is part of the first chapter in Into the West Family Ties by Stephen Burkhart, my pen name. Martin Stewart II had always lived a blessed life. He was the firstborn son of Thomas and Eloise Stewart, but he had two older sisters, Eleanor and Eileen. Unfortunately, Eileen did not survive her first year. Martin was followed by Thomas Jr., Franklin, and Emily. Thomas named Martin after his own father, Martin Oliver Stewart. The elder Martin Stewart had been a hero to Thomas. He was the one who took the chance and moved his family to the New World and put them all on the path which had allowed Thomas and his brothers to make such wonderful lives for their families. It seemed the least Thomas could do was to name his firstborn son after him for all he had done for them. Martin had grown up being attended to by the best nannies and tutors available before attending a preparatory school in New York City. Even with all of their hired help, Thomas always made time to help his children with their care and studies when he was home in the evenings. He always made sure they all had at least one outing together on the weekends. Family was everything to Thomas Stewart. There was nothing he wouldn't do to ensure his family's success and happiness. Martin remembered watching his father on the family outings. Even though his father had become what was considered a lumber baron, and he held a position of great respect in the business and social communities of New York City, he never put on airs. There were many people who had come to the Americas who had not been as lucky as the Stewarts, and Thomas never let his children think their good fortune made them better than those who had less. Thomas would often stop and talk to destitute individuals on the street who were asking for charity. He always asked their names and where they were from originally. He would always ask if they were looking for work or just needed a little extra to get by. More than once, Thomas offered a job to someone he met on their outings and always gave them a donation and asked for nothing in return, other than to be able to shake their hand and wish them well. It was this sense of community that had always impressed Martin most about his father, and undoubtedly had a big influence on his own actions when it came to Mrs. Margaret McBride. Martin remembered the first time he saw Margaret. She had been hired while he was off visiting his grandparents in upstate New York. He had sent word home to let them know when he would be arriving. When his carriage pulled up to the house, he was surprised and delighted to see the whole household outside waiting to greet him. As he went around to everyone thanking them for the warm welcome, he surprised them all with small gifts he had brought for everyone. While at his grandparents' home, Martin's grandmother taught him how to make fudge. In all honesty, he had mostly stirred things for his granny while she made the fudge, but she insisted it counted as helping her make it. Martin and his granny then wrapped up large blocks of fudge in butcher's paper and tied them with string. He had one for everyone and had kept one for himself. everyone was delighted with the treats. When Mrs. Hanover introduced Martin to Margaret McBride, he was immediately taken with her. She had a wild mass of curly red hair that she was barely able to contain in a bun at the nape of her neck, which was long and slender and the color of fine porcelain. Several rebellious curls had escaped her bun and made a soft frame around her beautiful face. Martin was particularly enamored with the freckles that lightly colored her face, running from one high cheekbone over the bridge of her delicate nose to end on her other cheek. She was stunning. The sight of her nearly left him speechless. And I think that's enough for this moment. I hope you will join me next week when we have more news about all of the things that are coming up for Burkhardt Books. Have a great Wednesday, everyone. Go forth and be happy.